Hey YouTube, welcome to my channel. My name is Cassie. I do video game reviews, unboxings, pickups, all sorts of stuff. Today I'm going to be talking about a video game that I played a couple of days ago, do a review on that. But first, games I'm playing right now. I just started God of War Ragnarok last night. Getting seriously into it anyway. I put it down and I barely even started it to begin with, but I picked it up on day one, and for some reason I've been holding off. I'm not sure the reason why, because the first one was amazing, but I played about 3 hours of that last night. I was playing Kona, which is kind of like, at first impressions, it was like a mixture of The Long Dark meets Firewatch, kind of like a survival adventure type game. But it wasn't holding my attention, and I just was getting kind of bored of it, so I decided to put it down, which I tend to have a bad habit of not putting games down when I need to. But sometimes, you play through a game and you don't like it at first, and then you end up loving it at the end, so I like to give a game at least a chance, but there is a point when you kind of just need to let it go if you're really just not enjoying it. So I moved on to God of War, and then I moved on to Road 96 last night as well, which is it's also like an adventure narrative type game, but it involves 6 different characters, and as you play through, you try to get them to the border. And it's kind of interesting. There's a lot of kind of mini games and stuff in it. I like it so far. I've played about 3 hours, which is probably about half of the way through it. And then I'm also playing Pokemon Arceus, which I've been playing for like a month and a half or so now. It just takes me a long time to play the Pokemon games, which is why I wish they would only do one per year, because you kind of get burnt out after a while. I love Pokemon, don't get me wrong, but I tend to overly do it, whereas I will level all of my Pokemon at the same time. So I'll catch every single Pokemon there is, and then level them all equally, and it's a bad habit, and it takes a lot longer for me to finish Pokemon games than most people probably. But it's alright. I like the game a lot. I was expecting more of a traditional type Pokemon game, but that's not what it is. But I like the route it's going, and I hope they do more like it later on. So the game that I finished a couple of days ago is a little game called Beacon Pines. Somebody had suggested it to me when I asked for shorter games to play through, since a lot of the games that are on my backlog are very long games, and I need some of the shorter titles to kind of make up for that lost time, if that makes any sense. Anyway, Beacon Pines is a little narrative adventure type game that involves a fox and a deer. You play as a deer or a fawn. His name is Luca. His father passed away and his mother is missing. They live in this little town called Beacon Pines, and his best friend is a fox named Rollo, and he comes over and wants to go kind of like on an adventure, snooping around and stuff around town. And then they come across some really strange things going on, and they want to kind of like solve what's going on in their town. The way the game plays, it's one of those choose your own adventure type games where you have decisions to make when you're during dialogue, where you will choose certain things to say. But with this one, as you're going around, you kind of collect words, single words that can be used to determine your outcomes for the game itself. Like, for example, a word like courage or junk or scared or something, and then that blank will be filled with that word, and that word will choose which direction you go on the timeline. And it's kind of like has different branches. It's kind of like a storybook type of game. Like it starts out like it's a book, and then you go into it kind of like, you know, old Disney movies, kind of like that. And those different words are going to change the outcome, but there's like multiple different endings, but there's only one true ending. So every time you get one of the endings that's not the true ending, the narrator kind of chips in and is like, no, this isn't right, this needs to be changed. And then you can go back at any time actually in the game and choose another word. But sometimes you have to backtrack after you find those extra words, and they can only be used in certain sections of this story. So you can't just use any word that you find for any part of the story. There's only certain ones. So there's backtracking and like different outcomes, and it's very interesting the way the story unfolds. The art style is kind of like a, you know, a nice like cartoon visual. And then you've got, it's kind of like a, I guess, I don't know if I'd call it 2D. It's kind of like a mix between 2D, 3D art style. And then the background music is really good. The soundtrack kind of like changes as like decisions are made, and it kind of starts getting more intense as the story gets more intense, you know. So it's pretty neat. The characters are all very interesting. It's kind of almost kind of like a thriller too, in a way. Like some of the outcomes get kind of creepy. Some things going on in the story. I'm not going to spoil it because there's a lot that's really going on in this game itself. But it's definitely worth checking out. I gave it probably about an 8.5 out of 10. It almost was a 9 for me, but then there were parts that just kind of got, I wouldn't say repetitive, but I kind of just wanted to get to the point at in some parts of the story. But I would definitely recommend it. You should check it out. It's on Game Pass, it's on Switch, and it's on Steam. It is not on PlayStation. But definitely worth checking out. And then, let's see, next video is going to be pickups. I'm going to do pickups next because I've got a whole stack of them. Pickups are not going to be very often anymore, just because I don't have a lot of money to spend on video games, and I usually use Game Pass or PlayStation Plus really to play most of the games that I'm playing, unless it's something new that I really want. So I'm sure I'll get like Hogwarts Legacy or something when that comes out. But yeah, until that video, I will see you next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you did like this video. At some point I will start doing like video game captures and stuff. I just need to get the equipment and a better computer and stuff to start doing all that. So I hope these videos get better over time. I have just recently came back, so I'm not used to this anymore. But I will see you guys later. Thank you.